welcome to Life Coaching on the Move. I'm your host, Fiske, coach, trainer and speaker. Welcome to this week's episode, which is all about problem solving. A great skill to have, a great skill to work on and improve further. So I hope this week's episode is practical and useful, and I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please would you share it on your social media, because so many people are struggling at the moment in lockdown and emotionally and mental health wise. So if this one won't help them, one of the previous ones in the catalogue will definitely be helpful to them. There are over 80 to listen to. So that's all I ask of you. There will be a slight hesitation as we move into the content of this, so stick with me, but let's launch straight into how to be a better problem solver. Today I'm talking about the art or skill of problem solving. Now, each and every one of us has got the best tool for problem solving, and that is our brain. We're all equipped with it. We all come armed and ready with it. So if you think about it, this magnificent computer that we've been born with, or this magnificent piece of equipment that we come with, is what sets us apart from all other animals. It's what enables us to build cities, towns, invent cars, invent machinery, get man to the moon, take photos of Mars, build shopping centres, invent vaccines and medicines, and discover the things that we've discovered and explore the places we've explored. And that is because of our brain and the ability that we've naturally got to hugely problem solve. It's the ability, the innate skill that we have with curiosity, with the enthusiasm and keenness to grow, to understand. We want to learn, we want to expand our minds, we want to expand our knowledge. But above all else, we want to problem solve, and a lot of science is about problem solving, understanding what the relationship between A and B is and what the effects are on each of them together and what the outcome is. So if we can get man to the moon and take photos of Mars and invent incredible vaccines and things like that, then surely we have the ability to solve our own problems. And yet so often we struggle. We really struggle. And that is because I think, like so many things in life, there's a double edge to the sword. So whilst our brain is there, a hugely powerful tool at our disposal to help us, it can also go uncontrolled. It can get out of our control. It can spiral. It can backfire and work against us if uncontrolled. So often our brain can be the cause of our problems, can be the cause of our pain, because we overthink things, because we overanalyze things, and because often we spend too much time in there dwelling on things, reliving things. And so it can become a really unwieldy tool. Even though it separates us from all other species, it can backfire. So I was thinking about this the other day when I was watching. We've got a really stroppy old cat. She lives upstairs. We have a stair gate and the dogs are not allowed upstairs, and that's her territory. My word, does she rule our house. She's nearly 19. If she wants food, she'll attack you, I think, because she thinks she's hunting. She was a real hunter, but she's not now at 19. She's an old lady with an attitude, and she'll swipe you, and she can have lovely moments, and on her terms is very affectionate, but only when it suits her. However, she's got thin and frail, but she knows the two spaniels are downstairs, and she'll come down the stairs and sit on the lower stair and stare at them and just wreak havoc. She just causes mayhem. Those two spaniels want to get hold of her. Every fibre in their body wants to chase her. And God knows, I don't know what they want to do in the end result. But it is torture for them. And she somehow understands that there is a barrier between them. And she just plays with their emotions. However, she has recently become very thin because she's 19. And she has worked out that she can actually get through the bars in the gates. So she arrives when she chooses. She just lets herself into the kitchen and will just slowly arrive in the kitchen, knowing that the dogs are there somewhere. She seems to have a really good scent on her. She knows where they are. If they're shut up in the utility room drying off after a really muddy run, she knows that, and she literally lords it around the whole of downstairs, and goes to their beds in the kitchen and scents them. She rubs all alongside them and leaves her smell, just as a little, there you are, I've been here, message to them to toy with them. Anyway, sometimes she will come into the kitchen and she's misjudged it. She doesn't know they're there, maybe round the corner from where she can see. And she'll meow because she wants some food, and she's very loud and demanding. She'll release a loud meow, which makes both dogs wake up, and they come rushing towards her. And so there is a standoff, and I absolutely believe she would win. In fact, I know she would win. She stands her ground, she hisses, spits, goes to scratch them. They are scared, but there's two of them, so they kind of work in a pair, hunting in packs. So I have to sort this out, grab collars, grab dogs, drag them back. Somebody has to entice the cat out and put her back upstairs, and all is forgotten. But for those few seconds that it happens, she is incredibly vicious and worked up. Her heckles are up, her claws are out, she's spitting, she's ferocious. And it's mayhem. The dogs are barking and whining. They make a very strange, weird sound from the back of their throats. That it's, I think, excitement stroke terror. They're not entirely sure what to do. But, it is chaos. And my heart's racing, and I'm usually shouting at the kids, help me, one of you grab the dogs. And it is a bit of a real dog and cat fight scene. For a few seconds, it all kicks off. And she's 19, and I thought when it first happened, I thought she would be upstairs terrified. I thought she would, it would knock her back, an old lady like that would knock her back, etc. But the minute she gets back up on the stairs and the gate's closed, it's all forgotten. Totally forgotten. There appears to be absolutely no upset, no emotion, she doesn't overthink it, she doesn't overanalyze it, she doesn't spend ages staring, glaring, avoiding, licking her wounds, not that there are any or anything like that. It seems that once it's over, it's completely over. The dogs forget it, the cat forgets it. It doesn't seem to affect them. Now, if that was us humans, and we had a bit of a showdown with another human, a bit of a scene or an argument or a row in a shop or, road rage or something like that, it would stay with us for ages. It would really affect us, hook into us, upset us. We would overanalyze it. We would discuss it, think about it, dwell on it, etc. And I think although what sets us apart from other animals is our intelligence and our ability to problem solve, one downside of that, we have yin and yang, or we have the double-edged sword or whatever, is that we then overthink things. So we carry things for a lot longer, whereas animals don't. Once they've chased something to try and capture it bring it back to their young, or once they've chased it, whether they get it or not, once that chase is over, they've forgotten about it. Not dwelling on it, not emotional about it. If you watch gorillas or apes and there's a big fight between a young male trying to threaten the territory of the older male, once it's over, it's over. So I think we need to sort of readdress how we use our brain. We need to be mindful or aware of the fact that we've got this hugely, hugely powerful tool that we can use. And if we changed it from brain to problem-solving tool, that actually takes away the emotion, doesn't it? Now, I want to ask you a question. Do you have a friend that if you've got a real worry, or if they've got a real worry and upset and real problem on their plate, or you have on your plate, you discuss it with? So can you recall a conversation that you've had? One of those deep conversations where the problem is discussed. Now, what was the outcome? Think about the outcome. If it's their problem, how did you handle it? Did you listen without judgment? Listen without interruption first? Were you a good listener? Secondly, did you empathise? Did you show any empathy? Did you acknowledge their problem, acknowledge their feelings, accept without judgment? Which, of course, I would recommend. So it's worth overthinking this one. Think about it, reflect back. Did you? How good were you? Could you have done anything differently? And then the icing on the cake is, did you go into a pep talk? Did you give them a bit of a pep talk? Did you give them any advice? Now, we're often told not to give advice, but as friends, we often do. Is it right or is it wrong? That's the question. Anyway, how did that conversation conclude? Or was it one of those problems that maybe they've mentioned before and they're always going on about it? They're always moaning about the husband or their wife or their boss or the department or the company or whatever. Is it a repeat? And they're one of these people that just go over it and indulge in it and actually put you off? Is it one of those people, because we've got friends like that, who actually it has a negative impact. We want to stay away from them. So it's not always helpful, is it? So to share a problem, we can halve it, can't we? We can share it with somebody. We can get it off our chest. They listen, they empathise. And on occasions, if they're a good friend and we respect their opinions, sometimes they can give us their opinion or what they would do, or advice or pep talk. They might encourage us and tell us it's going to be all right, or you can handle this, or you're doing well, or whatever. We can encourage. And that's better than just letting them overindulge, talk about it again and get nowhere. So if you were that friend that managed to do that and give a pep talk, did it help them? Did they feel much better? Did they leave that conversation with a possible solution? Did they leave it feeling much, much better, much more in control, much more optimistic, relief, happier, heard, understood? All of those things are the benefits of talking to a good mate. Other than if it's a person that just likes to constantly talk about the same problem and they've just got so stuck in it that they're only happy unless they're discussing the problem. They actually don't want a real solution. That's different. But on occasions where somebody has shared an issue, a struggle, a challenge, a worry, and you have listened and you have empathised and you have understood, and then you may have offered some words of wisdom or some encouragement, how, on reflection, do you feel it left them? How were they feeling? Was it helpful? Did it enhance your friendship, relationship? Did it improve how they felt about things? Did it give them something really helpful to go away with? Or did they just go away feeling so much better and happier? Because that's what true friendship and relationships are, and that's what we all want. And if that's not what they got, then maybe that's something you could work on. And you could strengthen your friendships or your relationships as a result. Now, hopefully you did do that. And hopefully that's why you're mates, and that's why they love being your friend, or in a relationship with you of some sort, or a relative or a loved one. And that you are able to do that the other way around, so that when you've also got some anguish and some upset or some anxiety and some struggles and worries, you're able to do that with them, and they will listen without judgment and empathise and acknowledge, and then perhaps give you encouragement, pep talk, wise words, possible solutions to think about. That's what true friendship is. And I hope you can think of an example of when you've received or given that, or one of both. Because, and I tell you for why, because that is the solution to us when we have an issue, and our brain, our chatterbox has gone crazy and is unwieldy and out of control, and it's overthinking, overanalyzing, focusing, because when we're like that, it affects so many things. Can you think about when you've had something that's really overwhelming you, your thoughts going round and round and round, worrying, what if this, what if that, it catastrophizes, it takes you to places and thoughts that are just, out of perspective, irrelevant, but they become huge. That actually becomes all-consuming. And what that does, it narrows your view right down into that problem. It's very narrow. It's a bit like, I sometimes think, when you've got binoculars or one of those viewing glass things, binoculars in particular. I remember when I used to use my dad's binoculars and look across the fields, say a couple of deer on the horizon, because we lived on a farm. If I saw a deer in the binoculars, it was bigger. You could see it was much, much bigger. Big, wideness, but clear. If I turned the binoculars round and looked through the tiny bit, or the bigger bit, so that you've got them the wrong way round, it really, really narrows down and looks so much further and smaller. It changes perspective. And that's what it does when your brain is racing and unwieldy. It changes perspective. It becomes really focused down so you can think of nothing else. So it might be that you're at the table and everybody's chatting and talking, and they ask you dad or mum or whatever, and you haven't even heard them because you're so in this. Or you might be reading. You sit there reading. Sometimes I do this, something's bothering me, and I'm trying to read my book, and I realise that I've use that term loosely, 2 paragraphs twice, and still haven't actually taken a single word in, because I'm too busy focusing on that narrow. My brain is really narrowed down into something, onto something else, that problem, that issue. And so we can't take in the context, the much bigger picture around us, because we're focused in. So when we're trying to problem solve, we need to take a big picture. And that's why we're so much better at giving other people advice, because we can see the big picture. The person sharing their problem with you can only see the problem. That's why we're so much better at giving other people advice. And it's true, we are, because we've got a big picture view. We can see it from all angles, and we're not in it emotionally invested. There's something called Solomon's paradox. Solomon was a king many, many hundreds of years ago. I can't remember where he was, in the Middle East. And Solomon was seen as a really wise king, real pearls of wisdom and wise words. And people used to travel hundreds and hundreds of miles across the Middle East to get the benefit of his wise words. And yet when it came to himself, he just couldn't give himself the same advice or sound judgment. And it's called Solomon's paradox. And there's lots of research to show that we are so much better at giving other people wise words and advice than we are ourselves. And that is because we're not narrowed down into the small, tiny but overwhelming problem, the minutiae of that problem or the emotions involved with it. We can see it from all angles. So you are not alone if you think, why can I give other people good advice, but I can't give myself the advice? That's because you're in it or you're associated with it. It's a little bit, I think I've said this before, when we're associated with things and our emotions or the situation and we're fully in it and involved, it's a bit like watching a storm. There's a storm outside. Now, if you're outside in that storm, being blown around and soaked to the skin, and the hail is hitting your face and it's running down your neck, your hair's dripping, your hands are frozen, you can barely feel them. Whoops, dropped my glasses. You can barely feel them. They're numb with cold. You're just freezing, you're shivering. It's a very different storm than if you were inside in the warm with the fire alight and dim lights looking out at the storm. Very different emotion, a very different experience of it. It's the same storm. So that's why giving advice for somebody else is so much easier, and you can come up with such a clearer picture, clearer solutions, because you're not in it. So what we can do to use our brain to solve our own problem is to dissociate from the emotion. We need to be able to step out of it. And one of the easiest ways, and sometimes the best ways of approaching anything in life, is the simplest way. We don't have to complicate this. Our brain, we need to use our brain as our tool and at our advantage. If it can do all of those complex things like get man to the moon, it can also be profoundly useful in the dead simple things. Dead simple. And so a really, really simple but profoundly powerful technique to use is to try and step out of yourself. And the way to do that is to literally talk to yourself, because as we all know, we chat to ourselves all day long. And when we're in the thick of the problem, we're just chatting negatively to ourselves about it, the doom and gloom and catastrophizing. We need to step out of it. And we can do that by talking to yourself, through the third person. So you can say, Bob, let's say, if you're called Bob, Kevin, let's say, talk to yourself, Kevin, I can get over this. I can find a solution to this. It's going to be fine. Right, Kevin, I need to, or I would do it to myself. Let's do that. That would feel much more useful. Dawn, I know you're upset about this. I know you're worried about this. The truth is, though, Dawn, there's nothing you can do about it at the moment. Next week, when that phone call comes in, discuss it with them. And what you need to say is write your points down, your areas of concern, your questions. And then when the call comes in, you can ask those questions. And if the answer is yes to that, you need to ask this, this and this. And Dawn, if it's a no, then you've got the answer. Then you can do that, that and that. So you basically break it all down and tell yourself there is a solution to this, and see it as outside of yourself. So you go much more into solution mode. Give yourself a pep talk using your own name several times, so that you are talking to somebody else. The other way of doing it is asking yourself as well. And I saw this, I don't know if you're watching, right now in lockdown, I feel the need for some real trashy TV. And I have got totally and utterly, for my sins, hooked on Married at First Sight Australia, which I've never watched before, but I cannot not watch it anymore. I am just living it and end up thinking about it in the middle of the night, but only because I love watching the human interaction, the dynamics between all the humans and all of them involved. And there are also a panel of 3 experts, psychotherapists or psychologists as well, guiding them. And at one point, one girl was having a real issue, real struggles. This couple were having real problems. And the psychologist said, she was having real anger issues actually, and it was a repeat pattern that she has done in previous relationships. And he said, that is this a pattern that you've used in other relationships that's been very negative? And she said yes. Well, she realised then, yeah, I do this all the time, and that's why my relationships haven't worked, and that's why I'm here, etc. And she said, and I don't know how to change it. I want to change it, I don't know how to change it. And he said, if it were your best friend that was sat here with this problem, who had a guy that was really invested in her and really thought the world of her, and she didn't want to repeat the same issue and she wanted to break this cycle, what would you say to your friend? What advice would you give your friend? And that is a question that we as coaches use. It's in one of our tools that we use with clients. Is what would you tell your best friend to do here? It's a really powerful question. And she instantly, unless they edited that, but she instantly came up with a solution. I'd tell her to do this, this and this. And he just shrugged his shoulders and nodded and said, yep, that's exactly what you need to do. So that is another way of coming out of ourselves and the mud of the problem where we're stuck and seeing it from a different viewpoint. So try that technique. Try both of those techniques. Talk to yourself in the third person. Be firm, be fair, go into solution mode, empathize and care, give yourself encouragement. You can do this, it will be fine. You need to do this, this and this, and don't stop worrying a little, or whatever it is, whatever the subject is, you need to talk to you in exactly the way you would your friend, and come up with those sorts of solutions. Step out of the problem, turn those binoculars around. You've got to get view from all angles. So I hope that's helped you today. Try it. It is a very powerful tool. It's worth trying. It's very simple as well. So what have you got to lose? Give it a go. I would love to hear how you've got on. Please do share your experiences. If you would like to drop me a line, Dawn at milestone-coaching.co.uk. Visit the website www.milestone-coaching.co.uk. There's lots there. A blog, workshops. There are some workshops starting in a couple of weeks. A 7-week confidence and life skills workshop, or a 3 weeks stress management workshop on Zoom. So if that's something you'd like to get involved with, please do drop me a line so that I can save you a space. I deliberately keep the groups very, very small so that it's friendly and not too scary for those involved. It's safe, and I do that on purpose. That's what's so powerful about it. So please do have a look there. There's also some online courses that you can download and own yourself and do in your own time management for busy people, and an advanced 7-module stress management workshop if that's an issue for you. So I hope that's really, really been helpful. Use your brain to your advantage and don't let it bite you and control you. Have a really strong week, and I will talk to you. By the way, if that's been helpful, before I forget, please, please, please show some kindness to your friends, because it may well be exactly what they need. They may be struggling in these times, particularly in lockdown. There's a lot of people out there struggling. So maybe cut and paste a link to this show and send it to them and say, I thought this might help. And there are many, many more previous episodes in the back catalogue. There are over 80 or so on a whole array of emotional subjects that will help them. So please do tell your friends or put it on your social media and share it. That will be superb. Have a great week. Thank you so much.